So hi everyone, good morning. How are you all doing? I hope all are well. Good. Good to see you all in class and good to see you all punctual as well. Yeah, exactly at 9:15, I think more than 250 students in the class. Feels good. It's nice for the rest of your life as well to be punctual. Okay. So before we get started, just wanted to take you through a small thing that I think some of the students have been messaging the faculty that the tests are being unpublished. So this is on instructions from the college administration. And don't worry, your progress and your attempts and your scores in the test are all recorded at the back end. We have them, no problem. Okay. So what we've been instructed by the college is that on a daily basis, only few tests will be live for you based on the topics that were covered that day. Okay. So if previous tests are becoming disabled or you are not able to view them, not to worry. We have your scores and all these tests will be again open to you once the program finishes. So maybe in 3 weeks time or so, 3-4 weeks, once the program finishes, you will get access to all these tests, the answers, and you will also get access to 3 more tests in each topic. So you will have a lot of practice available from the end of your program till your actual placements and companies coming down to campus. Okay. So no need to worry if you see previous test being disabled. You will have new test today in the evening and they will be open from today evening till tomorrow afternoon or so. So they'll be open for around 20-21 hours. And anytime in that period, you can go and attempt them. Okay. Okay, so interesting question from A1B0. In which month companies will come? So as of now, we have not heard of any company deferring their recruitment plans. So I think it starts with the bigger companies in sometime in September, October or so. It will start with Infosys, TCS. I don't know if all of these companies come to your campus, but Infi TCS, Cognizant should start in around that time, once the monsoon is done. Okay, any other doubts related to the test or how much practice and all that? Acha, A18. So if you're unable to log in, I'm not judging how you've joined the class because joining the class should also be through the same login. We'll have a look. You can just drop us an email and we'll have a look at what is the problem. If you have access to the class, I think you should have access to all the tests and recorded material also. Yeah. I hope you guys know where all the material is. When you log in, you see live classes in which you click to be able to join the our class here. But below that, there will be recorded sessions for all the sessions that we're doing with you in their various subjects. So there will be recorded sessions for quant, LR, and verbal for whatever topics we have covered. And there will be 2 sections saying daily test for batch 1 and daily test for batch 2. So you guys only need to attempt the test for batch 2 because they will be related to the topics that we have done for you today. So today we have Parajumbles, then the next class will be something else and afternoon class will be something else. So these 3 topics, you will get 1 test each in batch 2. So no need to attempt batch 1 test. You will get the same test when that topic is covered for you. Okay. So the same things that you have learned in class, attempt only those topics. Don't attempt other tests. Okay, this is an interesting question from A3F3. Suggest an online activity for learning new words every day. Can you remind me the start of our next class? Okay, our next class is again vocabulary. So I will cover this, how to keep increasing our vocabulary on a daily basis, some exercises, I have some book recommendations. So we'll go through this at the start of our next class. Yeah. Our presentations will also be shared on the website. We'll put them up shortly if they are not there already. Okay, no worries. Okay, so let's get into class. Again, we'll take a break midway. I think in long classes, I prefer taking a few minutes break and keep all these questions again. We'll continue this discussion. But I really like the amount of questions, queries, doubts. It shows me that you guys are also invested into the program. You guys are also trying hard. Huh. Acha, in the vocabulary test, so the test for vocabulary is a general idea about meanings of different words. There's a paragraph and there are fill in the blanks, and you have to choose the appropriate word for that blank. It's simple. This is a type of question which sometimes appears in some of the companies' placement examinations, but like we have put 20 questions in one paragraph, but in the placement exams, you will only have 3 or 4 questions in one passage. Fill in the blanks, basically. So you just have to pick the right word. There is no teaching in that. There is no concept. It's just meaning of the word, what you know, and you can pick whichever you want. Yep. Not very difficult. Eh? Words are okay. Some of them are the confusing words, which we covered in class. 2 words which sound the same, may have similar spelling also. Okay, so let me just get my slides for today. Acha, another query on vocab from A142. Again, can we park these queries for the next vocab class? I think it is tomorrow. So you can put me and we'll go through a few. But I'm happy that you guys are coming up with confusing words. 2 words in which you get confused. That's nice. So let's discuss all this in the vocab class. No problem. I have 2 more vocab classes with you. So we'll have a look. So today we are looking at Parajumbles. So if you remember from the brief overview of what we covered, I took you through verbal ability, which is going to be made up of vocabulary, which we started with yesterday. We will have sessions on reading comprehensions, on grammar, and on verbal logic. So we did one session on vocab. Today we are going to get into verbal logic, and we are going to do your first topic of verbal logic called Parajumbles, which is here. This is an easy topic. This is a fun topic. So you'll have fun in the class as well as we go through it, like we did in the previous class. Okay. So Parajumbles is simple. There's very little concept or theory. It's just practice. So today we'll start with a few examples which might be easy, just to get us, warmed up. Like we did previously, our warm-up was the photo exercise, which we did. So today's warm-up questions are easy, just to get us in the mode of what are parajumbles, right? Parajumbles are basically 4 or 5 sentences which are presented to you, A, B, C, D, E. But the problem is that they may not be in the correct order. They'll be in all jumbled order. Yeah. And we have to rearrange them in the correct order. So the correct answer might be D, C, A, B, E, right? And if you say it in this order, the paragraph may sound logical. So that's what we have to do. We'll get jumbled up sentences and we have to rearrange them. So to start with, we'll just go through a few easy ones. They will be quick. And whatever first comes to your mind in terms of answer, you can put it in the chat. And of course, we'll discuss. I'll take the difficulty level up 1 level after a few questions. I'll tell you also, you will realize it. And on the way, I will also explain, or we'll revise a bit What are the tips and tricks? How to solve parajumbles? What to start with? Yeah. How to spot the links between the sentences. And then maybe if we have time at the end of the class, we might do a few questions that are on the more difficult side. Okay. Again, all questions in my class are from exam papers. So even the easy questions have come from some company's exam papers. Okay. You will find this difficulty level also in your exams. Medium also are for exam papers. Hard you may not find in your campus placement exam. The difficult ones that we have today will be more from the CAT preparation and those kind of questions. So if we can solve, even better. But easy and medium are what you will find in your exams. Okay. Any doubts on this? Let's get into our first one. Yeah. Good. So a very high accuracy rate within the answers that have come in. I'm happy. So this is just getting us started. Huh? So the way you solve parajumbles, you start reading from the first sentence. Okay, donkeys, horses, mules are some pack animals. Animals that carry load are called pack animals. As you're reading, you're trying to rearrange them. Which statements are linked to one another? Which statement can be the opening statement? All of these permutations and combinations are going on in your head. Okay, so first we read and we try to judge what the passage is talking about. It's obvious they're talking about pack animals. We also can judge which is the best statement which introduces the topic of the passage, which we can use as our first statement. Okay, so in these four statements, S doesn't seem like a first statement. R doesn't seem like a first statement because of this word, their bodies. We can't open because we don't know who there is. We can't use R because R is talking about also. So something has to come before. Between these two, Q looks like the better opening statement because it is introducing the topic of the passage. What are pack animals? Animals that carry load are called pack animals. Okay. Now, after Q, you think that maybe we can give some examples. R is still ruled out. Huh? So R doesn't work. Llamas are also pack animals, also suggests that you need an example before it. So R doesn't work. You can either go to P, you can go to S. But are all pack animals' bodies covered with wool? Animals that carry load are called pack animals. S can follow because there can refer to animals. But all pack animals' bodies are not covered with wool. Na? We have some examples here as well. Donkey, horses, mules, these are some pack animals. Their bodies may not be covered with wool necessarily. So S doesn't work. QP is much better. You open with a general statement, and in P you give a few examples. So animals that carry load are called pack animals, and donkey, horses, mules are some examples of pack animals. So QP is much better. Then you can add this line now, which has also in it. Llamas are also called pack animals. That's a different kind of pack animals. And llamas' bodies are covered with wool. So their bodies, they're referring to llamas, sounds better. Because there cannot refer to all pack animals and there cannot refer to donkey, horses, mules. Because we know that their bodies are not covered with wool. Okay, so simple. Start reading, judge the opening statement, judge which statement can follow which statement, and the answer emerges. Okay, so one of the questions in the doubts is why S is not following Q. When you open with animals that carry load are called pack animals and continue into S here, their bodies are covered with wool. So we know from our knowledge, right, that all pack animals' bodies are not covered with wool. It is not a characteristic of pack animals. In fact, you have examples here, donkey, horses, mules. Actual examples of pack animals whose bodies are not covered with wool. Yeah, they have normal skin and hair. Only llamas have wool. Llama, sheep, but sheep are not pack animals, of course. Certain animals have wool. All animals don't have wool. Their skin is skin plus hair, not wool. Okay. So here QPRS, not QS. Okay. So continuing on an easier trend, again, something else related to animals. So here's an interesting doubt from 3C7. I'll take it up when I explain. Yeah. So shall we solve? So as we are reading, we are getting to know that here two statements are going in pairs. Okay, two statements. What are the pairs in this statement? Sometimes young ones of different animals have the same name. This becomes one pair. And the young ones of an elephant, a whale, and a cow are called a calf. SR is one pair. Okay, so we can, when we read itself, we can identify these pairs. Can other pairs work? No. Sometimes young ones of different animals doesn't go with S. So QS is not a pair. And what about QR? Sometimes young ones of different animals are called a calf. No. All young ones of different animals are not called calf. They have the same name, but those names can be different names. In this case, we have three animals as examples whose young ones are called a calf. Elephant's young is also called a calf, whales also, and cows also. Okay. Now between these two, I've got options of QPSR and SRQP. So we need to choose between this, right? So in Parajumbles, the better way to go about it is first you introduce the topic with a general statement. Okay. You don't give examples first. First you have what is the passage talking about. The topic here is sometimes young ones have the same name. Okay. So QP comes first and then continues into examples of that general statement always. Okay. So here it's QPSR. It's a general recommendation. Don't start with examples. Start with general statement, go into examples. Now, someone had a good doubt at the start of the question, and which we saw in the previous question also. Here, two things are happening. First of all, the start of the statement is not written in capital letter. Okay. So here you have sometimes, which is the start of the sentence, and the young ones, start of the sentence. This is not in capital, right? So this might happen. If the examiner is feeling helpful, then he'll put capital letter for the start. You know that that is the start and some other statement is continuing statement, but not necessarily. Parajumbles, even though two statements are part of the same sentence, the capital letter will not be given to you. Same thing you can say for full stop, right? This full stop is a continuing statement into the QP, right? This is one sentence. But still in a parajumble, examiner has put full stop. This might happen. So even if there is a full stop, doesn't mean that this cannot continue into the next statement. It can. So be careful about this. Capital and full stop. Suppose the examiner is feeling helpful, then he may not give a full stop for a continuing statement, but consider that it can also be there. So this is the way in which examiners try to confuse you. Okay. So 1C6, we actually can't. That's a general way that we do to start with in parajumbles, right? Start with a general idea. Now, one thing you may have noticed, this is something called parajumbles type 1, okay, in which statements are given and you need to rearrange them. I have a parajumbles type 2 also later on in the slides, where first statement is fixed. So first statement will be something and sixth statement will be something. They may be called S1 and S6. These may be fixed and you have to choose the correct order for the ones that come in between. This is another type of parajumbles which we will practice today. Okay. One way in which examiners can make it more difficult is to not give you options, which we have started with. Okay, so the best way to learn and practice parajumble is not consider options. Go through all the possibilities in your mind. That is the best practice. In some of your campus placement exams, in fact, in most of the exams, parajumbles will come with options. So then it becomes much easier. Because once you figured out which is the opening statement, which two sentences, sorry about that. Once you figured out which is the opening statement, which two sentences go together, the options make it easier for you to select the right one and proceed. Yeah, I'm just putting all of y'all on mute because I think some of us are unmuting by mistake. So if you guys want to speak, just raise your hand, I'll unmute you. Okay. So yeah, so without options is a better way to practice. We've started like that. With options is easier. In the exam, if options are there, please use the options. Don't do without options. Use the options, be quick and proceed through the question into the next one. Okay, so let's have one more. This is again continuing on the easier side. This is not difficult at all. Just warm up. Right. So short one, 4 statements, all part of one sentence, right? And which is the best statement to open? S. Because some words which are held by different and appear, all of these words don't suggest that this statement can start. Okay, best statement to start is S. Sometimes parajumbles are that easy that you can do trial and error. Does SP sound okay? Many students from all over India which are held, no, students cannot be held. Many students by different organizations, no. Student cannot be by different organization, they can be from different organizations. So SP, SQ don't work. SR, students appear in examinations, sounds better. Again, try trial and error. Appear in examinations by different organizations or appear in examinations which are held, right? So there is a two links in this sentence. Examinations which are held. This needs to come one after the other, right? And held by. This needs to come one after the other. So SR, PQ. This is the correct one. Right. So someone had put a good doubt, sir, these are quite easy questions. Do they actually come in the exam? Yes, they do. These are all exam questions. There are some companies, some papers in which Parajumble will be at an easier level. This is that level. I'm using them for warm up for you, just to get to know what Parajumbles are. Okay, these also come. If you're lucky, these will come in your paper. These are very nice, easy to solve, good momentum, quite quick. I think less than a minute for most of you, whoever answered. Yeah. Now let's take the difficulty level up one notch. Okay. So there are two ways in which I can do it. One way is this, that if we increase the length of the statements, the difficulty increases because each sentence is longer. You need to then take time to read which sentence joins with which sentence. Yeah. So this is one way in which I increase difficulty. Another way I can increase difficulty, I can add some more statements. So 4 statements is easy, it's workable. 5 statements becomes a little bit difficult because the combinations, the permutations and combinations increase. Okay, so these are the ways in which the difficulty level of Parajumbles now starts increasing. So 254 has a doubt. So guys, if you want, you can put your names after your numbers. It makes it easier for me to judge who I'm speaking with. Otherwise, it's just numbers. Feels like I'm in the class of robots. Yeah. So names, identify yourself much better. In Infosys practice test given by our college, are brainstorming. I'm not getting this doubt. Infosys practice test of Parajumbles, is it? And what is brainstorming? Is it like a group study or everyone can solve together? May not happen in all tests. Please be careful. Don't rely on friends and groups to study. Self-study also important, and sometimes we may have to solve it ourselves. Okay. So before we go ahead, I'm just quickly revising what is our approach to Parajumbles. First, we read. Try to judge the topic of the paragraph. Okay, what is it talking about? As we are reading simultaneously in our mind, we can try to identify the opening statement, which is the most general statement which introduces the topic. Okay, this is fair. This is side by side as we are reading. Again, as we are reading side by side, we try to identify logical pairs, which means which statement go one after the other. Yeah, we need to identify what statement follows. And there are some tricks which we use to identify, which will come up in our examples also. These use some transition words like we saw in our examples so far. Their body is covered with wool, but there is referring to whom? So pronouns, there is a pronoun, and pronouns antecedent is the noun to which the pronoun is referring. Okay, so there was referring to either llamas or donkeys and horses or pack animals. We had to decide. So this is a good way to judge which sentence needs to come after which sentence. Yeah, there are some other transition words also, which I'll cover in my examples. So this class is more examples. There's no theory. There's no concept. The more we solve, the more we practice, the more easier it gets for us and the faster also we get. Okay, and sometimes the examiner is helpful. They will give you a closing statement also, which you realize this has to be the last statement. There's nothing else which can close. That can also be identified. Okay, so for the Infosys practice test of brainstorming, what you meant is that the questions are of a higher difficulty level with complex words and all. Yes, it can happen in some tests. Okay, not in all tests. In Infosys, maybe. I also have difficult ones later on in my slides. We can practice. No problem. The reason I started easy is that we just need to get warmed up, to get into the mode of solving Parajumbles quicker. And I can make it more difficult. No problem. Ganesh has a good question. How many Parajumbles come in campus selection? Generally, not more than 2 or 3 in a 20 question paper. Won't be more than 2 or 3. Yeah, either 1 or 2 or 3 out of 20. So now if you have a longer paper, there may be more. So different companies have different lengths of paper. Chalo, let's go to the next one. Okay. So was this more difficult? I think I got lesser number of answers in this one. Answers are mostly correct. You guys have gone about it in a good way. But now, did you notice there was one extra option? Huh? This one had 5 statements. And compared to the previous ones, the statements are a bit longer, slightly longer. But still no confusing words, no complex words. The statements are easy to understand. Now in Parajumbles, sometimes what you need to do is you only need to arrange the statements in order of the story. What is happening? What happened first, then what happened, then what happened, then what happened in a sequence. That's all you need to decide. Apart from giving you 5 options and making it slightly tougher, I made it, on the other hand, slightly easier. I gave you options. So once you identified a few statements which go in one line, what needs to come later, what needs to come first, it's okay to go to your options and to start eliminating. Which one sounds like the correct option, which one sounds incorrect. Okay. So in this, if you've noticed while reading, 4 statements are on the negative side. Okay. People are fearing a famine. This is negative. The monsoons have failed and the water tanks are empty. No grain could be sold. All are negative. And farmer looked anxiously for the next monsoon. And one statement is positive. Monsoon turned out to be unusually abundant. Danger was averted. Okay. Can this statement go at the start? No. Because if you're talking about a famine, there is lack of water, monsoons have not worked. And when monsoons are abundant, abundant means more than enough. Yeah, very good amount. And danger was averted. Averted means prevented. Yeah, so this suggests that B needs to come at the end. First, you talk about all the problems, and then statement B ends the passage. Yeah, we can use these. So again, you can do elimination, you can try to solve completely, no problem, right? Now to start with, many have answered between these two, CD and CA. The good thing is you've identified C as the first one, which is nice. You can start with C. The monsoons failed and the water tanks became empty. Okay. If you do CAD, people started fearing a famine. What is a famine? A famine in which people don't have food. Right? So in any parajumble, the cause has to come before and the effect has to come later. Okay. Reason before and output later. If you go CAD, people started fearing a famine and so no grain could be sown. This seems opposite, no? The famine will happen as a result of no grain being sown. What is grain to be sowed? When you sow, you put seeds in the field and it grows into a crop and it gives you food. So You can say CDA sounds much better. The monsoon failed and water tanks were empty. So no grain could be sown because there was no water. You can't water the plants. Therefore, you don't put seeds. And as a result of no grain could be sown, if you don't plant the seeds, then you may not have food at the end of the year. So D goes to A and not the reverse. People can't start fearing a famine and then no grain is sown. First, no grain is sown, and because of it, you start fearing a famine. So CDA works much better. So do we have here B as the last one, CDA as this one to open? Yeah, this sounds good. I think most of you all have got it also. Just to be sure, whenever you have options, you should always read completely straight through. CDA, no grain could be sown. People started fearing. Okay, can E continue into A? Farmers looked anxiously for the next monsoon. Yes, this happens. This is okay. And then B to close. The next monsoon turned out to be abundant and danger was averted. Yeah. So Rishi has a good solution here. Thanks, Rishi, for pointing this out. In case you are not getting it by judging this order of the statements yourself, yeah, in case you're not able to figure, C should open, then D or A, just take each option and say the words in that line. Okay, CADBE. Okay, then start saying it. CADBE. Does it sound logical? Does it fit? Or are there some problems in saying it this way? And use elimination method. Go from the option and eliminate. Okay. So any doubts? Let's do one more. Similar kind, related to rainfall and also with options and 5 statements. Yeah, 381, you have a doubt?
No, sir. No, sir.
Oh, okay. Sure. So try to solve this in the same way that we have been doing. Either you can go from options or you can start reading. Start reading top to bottom. What is this talking about? Too much rainfall. Correct? Try to arrange them in the order of first all the reasons. And because of this reason, something bad is happening. Okay, so first reason and then something bad. What is the result of the cause? Cause should always come first. So like most of you all have identified, D should open. The first problem was rain fell heavily. Okay, D should open. And I think you've eliminated the river overflowed because directly you're going to one of the outcomes. And you've eliminated terrified villagers abandoned their homes because it won't happen. Between these two, D is opening. Now, if rain falls steadily, can D lead to E? The terrified villagers abandoned their homes. But just heavy rainfall is not a reason to be terrified, no? There needs to be some statements in between. So DC sounds better. Because the rain fell heavily, the river overflowed. And because the river overflowed, the villagers abandoned their homes. C to E. And A is the obvious continuation because after abandoning their homes and the river has overflowed, you move to higher ground. So the water will not reach you. So E goes to A. And like you noticed in the first one, The first statement was negative, 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 and negative. And this statement solved all the problems. So obviously, A, C, D, and E should come first. And then you have a change of track where B comes, the floods retired, which means the waters receded, and the villagers were able to return to their homes. So all problem was solved. So again, B becomes the conclusion, the most ideal conclusion, right? Because after B, it's difficult to introduce another negative statement. Doesn't sound appropriate. So your answer is 3, not 2. Okay. So good. Are we enjoying? Is this a good way to practice also? I think I saw a few comments at the end of the last class that we would like more practice rather than concepts and theory. So we've tried to include as many problems as possible in our presentations. Okay. Now I'm going to change the game a bit. Dinesh, go ahead. If you want to unmute, you can raise your hand. You can unmute. Acha, Bhaskar is an interesting question. How to identify positive and negative? Bhaskar, from what it's talking about, the river overflowing, obviously negative, no? As in something that says that there is a problem. That's a negative statement. So river is overflowing, people are running away, people are fled to higher ground. So this is all problematic statements. No? So that's why it is called a negative statement. And D seems to solve the problem. The flood receded and the villagers were able to return. So that's why it becomes positive. Okay. So let's change the game a bit. I'm going to increase now the length of your sentences. So I'm going to make it slightly more difficult. That the sentences will become longer, few new words, few slightly complicated ideas. Let's introduce. Okay. Slightly more tricky, is it? Now it is noticeable that the difficulty level has gone up a little bit. Because earlier we had short sentences. Those were also exam questions. This is also exam question, but slightly more difficult. Some exams will have like this, some exam will have the previous one. Okay. So first we read, start to finish. Now there are two hints here which we can use to identify how to open. Okay. One is that the opening statement should have an introduction for the main character who is playing a role in it. So the first statement has on Monday, the Secretary of State. Do we know who the Secretary of State is? No, not mentioned. B has US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Much better introduction. Okay, can work. And C says Clinton arrived by plane in Delhi. Now, which Clinton? Is it Bill Clinton? Is it Hillary Clinton? We don't know. Okay, so one trick is that the best opening statement is the one that has the full introduction of the character that is playing a part in this passage. US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Best introduction. Okay. Second trick which you can use to identify which statement should go first is something called sequence. We studied this in the last one. Na? In what is a sequence of time called? It's called chronology. Right? This is the sequence of time in which events occur. Okay. So which statement occurs first? US Secretary of State Clinton arrived in India on Sunday. We've decided B can be our opening because of the introduction. Now, between C and A, Clinton arrived by plane in Delhi before noon, according to a reporter. So more details on when she arrived. This is still Sunday, right? Ahead of expected talks with the Prime Minister and President in the evening. So this is Sunday evening. And on Monday, Secretary of State is due to hold a day of meetings with so and so, so and so, so and so. Doesn't matter. Okay. And here you are using the Secretary of State because you've already introduced her over here. So A can be later. So in the logical order, first you arrive, introduction, then more details on what is happening on Sunday. So C, and then what is going to happen on Monday. B, C, A. Okay. Any doubts in this? So two tricks. One is introduction and one is time. Rishi is saying if time is given, then we'll definitely answer it correctly. But maybe all questions, the examiners are not very helpful. Huh? If everyone is able to answer correctly, then everyone will get placed, no, in the same company. So we need to practice. It will come. But let's continue at this. This is a moderate difficulty level. In some of these, I have options for you. You can choose elimination. And in some of these, you have to work it out yourself without options. So test may also be a mix. Some companies you may need to type in the answer, and some companies you can just select option. A good question from 1B0. Again, please put your names here. I don't know who I'm talking. 1B0. Do you like being referred to 1B0? My serial number. Okay, how can we say C is also Sunday? See, US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton arrived in India on Sunday, no? Arrived in India on Sunday and arrived by plane. So this link suggests that this is the same day because she can only arrive once, na, from US to India. You can't keep arriving every day. The travel itself takes some 18 hours or something. So Madhuri, okay, good. Thanks for letting us know your name. Okay. So arrival is on the same day. Therefore, we know that it is the same day. See, all the tips and tricks that I'm telling you now, chronological order, sequence, mostly they will fit. Huh? If time is given, follow chronological, that will be the answer. In some very few rare cases, very confusing ones, it may not. So don't use it as a general rule that I will apply in every parajumble according to time. No. There might be some parajumble where some other factor will be more important. Okay. So I'm just taking you through a variety of factors which we can use as strategies. Try out these strategies. Try them out in the practice test. You will realize which one to be used when, yeah, which is more effective. Even when options are given, you can try out whether to go elimination method, not reading the questions, only going by option method, or whether you want to solve it yourself. Some people are faster one way, some people are faster other. Yeah. So now when we read these, can we see a few links that are emerging? They found that the surface temperature of water may be as much as 20 degrees warmer than deep water. Yeah. But who is they? We need to figure out. The cheapest collector of sun's heat is a body of water. Okay, this is a general statement. It can be used to introduce. For a number of years, French engineers have been trying to harness. French engineers can be they, have been trying to harness the temperature difference produced in the oceans by sunshine. Okay, so we have one link. CA is a link. Yeah, it's a strong link. They found that the surface water may be as much as 20 degrees warmer than the deep water. What is another link? 20 degrees warmer. But now D is changing the track. C is suggesting that harnessing power energy from water is possible. A is supporting it because it's giving temperature difference. But D is changing the stance. D is saying this temperature difference is a very small temperature difference for operating a turbine. Therefore, harnessing water may not be possible. So CAD seem to be a trio, like a pair, but three statements which go together. Okay. Now I have to decide whether B can go here or whether B can go here. Now B is a general statement. It's introducing the topic of the paragraph. You're talking about harnessing energy, and the cheapest collector of the sun's energy is a body of water, right? So B sounds better to open the statement rather than to conclude the statement. Because the cheapest collector of sun's heat is body of water, then French engineers have been trying to harness that from the water, and they come to temperature difference and then D closes it. But 20 degrees is a very small temperature difference for operating a turbine. Doesn't work. Okay, so BCAD would be much better than CADB. I got both options from many of them. Okay. Nikhil, parajumbles. Okay, good question from Nikhil. Do parajumbles have more than one sequence? See, parajumbles will have only one sequence. They will be right only in one way. There can't be more than one. Okay. But there are a few questions in which when you solve the problem, you will feel you are correct. You will feel convinced about why you have the correct answer. Okay. When examiner solve the problem or when some other student solve the problem, he may see it from some other perspective. Okay. So even if you are convinced about an answer, 100% of the time, we cannot say that parajumbles will be correct. In case of option, yes, it's possible to choose the option. But when you have to actually type in the sequence of statements yourself, then it becomes a little bit more difficult. Yeah, that is the reason, Nikhil, that in CAT and some of the MBA entrance exams, whenever parajumble don't have options and you have to type in the answer, they don't have negative marking. So they know that this possibility that between two letters something may go amiss. Like, you know, some people may have different points of view, so they don't have negative marking. But right answer is only one, of course, and that is the examiner's answer. There can't be two. Okay, so it's been an hour or so. So let's just take a quick few minutes of break and talk about something else. In my last class, I had spoken to you about introductions, how it's important to have some anecdote, some funny story, something special about yourself in your introduction. So would anyone like to introduce themselves to me? Of course, I think all of you all know each other, having been in the same class. But if anyone has thought about what they would like to say in the introduction, feel free to introduce. Yeah, let's hear a few. It will give, it will let me also know some of you all. As let's consider me as a mock interviewer, someone on the panel. How about it? No one? Be comfortable, yeah, guys. You need to open up here. I mean, if in the interview you face the question, tell me about yourself, and you just sit there quietly, so then it won't work, no? Achha, so A254 is saying you start first. Arey, I introduced. Last class was my introduction only, full class, or at least the start of the class. From Mumbai, where I worked, drove down from Mumbai to Vizag, all of that. I know once more. Acha. Some people are not sure about having an audience of 518 students. So therefore, they don't want to introduce. No problem. Chalega. So if anyone is comfortable, purely voluntary, not compulsory, we can use these breaks, which we take in between a long class, to talk about some other stuff related to English, related to vocab, related to interview preparation, all of this. So I have been an interviewer also in the past. While I was with L&T Finance and while I was with HDFC Bank, we went to many colleges to recruit. We went back to my college, Xavier Institute of Management, Bhubaneswar. And in most cases, we were recruiting for someone who would be working with me in my team. So that makes it even more important because you have to be selective about who you want in your team, whether they will likely make a good employee, likely to contribute to the team. Yeah, all of this. So that is the kind of experience I'm trying to bring in into these sessions. So to give you some sort of an advantage with the recruiters. Okay, this is an interesting question from A1E5. Yeah, how to improve our English speaking skills. This is nice. So first thing I would say is you need to speak more. You need to speak as much as possible. I know sometimes it's not possible because at home we might be speaking Telugu. We might be speaking our mother tongue wherever you are from. You know, those who are from other states might be speaking their own mother tongue. Like we speak Marathi at home with my family. So getting practice means then taking out time to interact with friends compulsorily that you will want to interact in English just to get your speaking abilities up to the mark. Okay, that's one. So as much as possible, whenever you interact with people, try to speak in English. Try to take time. In fact, this will help your friends also. Now, if as a group you are doing a conference call and you all know that you want to speak and practice English, then go ahead. Okay. Now, there are also some courses online on websites like Udemy or Coursera who will teach you English speaking and pronunciation, right? The correct way to say things. So this will improve your diction. Maybe little bit vocabulary will also improve. You learn some new words. You'll also learn how to say those words. So there will be apps and there will be websites with courses which will teach you this. Okay, so that's one. Knowing English is one. Practicing English is another. And a third step in this is called communication. Like as someone said in one of the chats, yeah, I know the words, but to bring them from my mind to my mouth, that connection is the problem. So that is partly confidence, where you're not confident about your skills, right? Which again improves with practice. Yeah. And secondly, it's about opening up more and more. So that's a different kind of communication class, a communication lecture itself that we are looking at. Some communication courses are there. They are offered. Now they will be online. At Apex, we have also done a communication course in the past, only to encourage people to open up more and to start speaking regularly. It doesn't teach you English. Huh? So if you're bad at English, first we need to learn English. But more about building that confidence and removing that mental roadblock that I am not good in English and start communicating with others. So you'll also find courses for this. You're right. Someone has put in the chat that there are apps also which are available for this. So you can try looking at a few apps. Yeah. So good, interesting question from 3M1. Again, I don't know who this is. 3M1. What qualities do you look for in a student while you're taking interviews? Okay, so this is interesting. When I went to recruit from L&T Finance and from HDFC Bank, we were looking at people who are good in communication. Okay, people who will socialize with the rest of the team, who will not be introvert. So this is something basic because unless you speak with people, work will not get done. If you have a problem, you need to come and tell your manager there is a problem. If you sit on the problem quietly, it grows and grows and grows until something goes wrong. So we need people who are clear in their communication. Yeah, that's right. Rishi has put those who are honest. That's nice. It's difficult to test sometimes. So it's just a general conversation which people have. They will not ask you, tell me an instance where you were honest. This is not something that you can practice. But just from conversation, you get to know how a person is to behave. How is he to interact with, right? Secondly, we were going from a finance institution. So we were looking for knowledge about the finance sector. So there would be a lot of questions about the different aspects of finance that you learn in your MBA and the different parts of some sectors in the Indian economy, which are doing well, not doing well. So this is all general knowledge. So there will be a few technical questions. I think for you guys, it will be technical question related to your engineering, whichever course you are doing, right? And there'll be a few general knowledge questions because every employee in any organization needs to know what is going on in the world around us, what is going on in your city, in the country, what is important right now, and how does it affect us. So in all interviews, general knowledge will be tested somewhat, apart from your technical skills. So those who are coders need to practice coding. Those who are mechanical engineers need to know your concepts of mechanical engineering. So study a little bit what you've done last 3 years, but also try to keep a grasp of general knowledge. Read the newspaper. Very simple. Every day read paper for half an hour. That's it. If you get newspaper at your house, read it or download some app, Economic Times, Business Standard, Times of India. I think in Andhra Pradesh, the Hindu seems to be more popular. So the Hindu is a good paper. Hindu as a business paper also, Hindu Business Line. So you can download all of these and just spend some time in the day sitting quietly in a corner reading. Okay, try to get some knowledge about everything that is going on around us. Okay, so remaining questions in the next jam session. Achha, someone is saying you should hold jam session. What exactly is a jam session? You'll have to tell me. I don't know what is a jam session. I thought it's just this discussing about stuff related to either your placements or anything. Acha, so Rishi is saying jam is just a minute. So what is will you be like speaking for a minute or something? Acha, give a random topic and start talking about it. Okay. Chalega. So let's do this next time. No problem. Many lectures to go. Okay. So now coming back to Parajumbles. So we are on a slightly moderate level of Parajumbles. Not easy like the ones we started with, but not very difficult. Not MBA level, not CAT level. Yeah? Moderate. Something that you can expect in your examinations. So this is a new type of question, type 2. Now, first statement and last statement are fixed, and you need to decide the order of these four. Good. I like such comments in the chat. Apart from the answer, I think various students are also telling me whether it's not that easy, it's okay, it's moderate. So it's good. I like such feedback. It also gives me an idea where we are in the class. Yeah. One idea, of course, get from the speed at which everyone is solving. So if very few answers come and everyone is taking time, I know it's tough. Okay. So anyone still solving, you can put, let's solve together. Now, the reason this is called type 2 is this, the first and sixth sentence are fixed. Huh? So this is first and this is last. You cannot have S1 and S6 in the middle somewhere. I think few options I have got like that. Yeah. C, D, S6, S1, B, A, no. S1 and S6 are first and last. This order cannot be changed. We are only doing the order in between. Okay. For those who didn't understand what S1 and S6 is, it's the first and last statement. They can't change. So vitamin A is good for health. Introducing a topic. It is also good for eyes as it is required to make a light sensitive substance in the eyes. It prevents skin from becoming dry. Now, some people have said that ABCD is the correct order. Okay. So that's some of your options are ABCD. But between these four sentences, first, can we identify positive, negative? Vitamin A is good for health, positive. Is A and B both continuing in positive sense? Yeah, it is telling you about a benefit. It prevents skin from drying, positive. Is C and D talking about negative? Now you're coming to deficiency. What problems can it solve if you don't have vitamin A? So negative. And may have dry eyes. So negative, right? And S6 is giving you a solution. So to prevent problems, eat fruits and vegetables that are high in vitamin A. Okay. So if the first statement is positive, then you should continue into positive statements rather than jumble these up. Okay. So C and D, which is one continuing statement, people who are deficient in vitamin A may have problems seeing at night and may have dry eyes. This is one sentence. So C, D comes here. Okay. Now we have to decide between A and D. Vitamin A is good for health, good introduction, opening statement. Instead of saying also good for eyes and then coming to it prevents skin from drying, which is unrelated, it's better to do good for health. How? General opening statement, example. It prevents skin from becoming dry. Example of good for health. Okay. Now you have the keyword also. It is also good for eyes. So now you're coming to another benefit of it. Prevent skin from drying was one, good for health. Also good for eyes, required to make something in the eyes. A. Now why A here is because C continues talking about eyes. Okay, good for eyes, good for eyes. And C is saying those who are deficient have problems seeing at night. So this link is something to do with vision, right? And this becomes a strong link. And therefore BACD, not ABCD. Okay, so we were looking for S1, B, A, C, D, S6. Praveen, S1 and S6 are fixed. They are the first and the last statement. You can't say A followed by S1. The position is fixed. That is why this is the type 2 of parajumble. This is a new type where S1 and S6 are fixed. Is given over here. First and sixth statement are fixed and 4 incomplete sentences we need to solve. So between S1A, I just explained, na Praveen, that A has a much stronger link with C, eyes, eyes and eyes. So therefore B can come before A can continue into C. And another keyword is also. So if you write S1AB, right, then B needs, either it needs also over here because you're giving another example, or it needs 2. it prevents skin from becoming dry too, or it needs as well. Otherwise, it doesn't work. It's incomplete. Okay, interesting chat. When I am solving, it's easy. But when you are solving, it seems difficult. That's okay. Now I'm here to take you through. And more practice will make it easy. Yeah. Okay. So let's do one more. So again, S1, S6 are fixed. Huh? You can't change this position. And this one has options also. Yeah. Shall we solve? So bonus marks for someone who can tell me where this story is from. Previous class got it. Many of them knew. Oh, good. There are some answers here as well. Yeah, good. It's from Mahabharata. But two characters are interchanged. In the Mahabharata, the king went to sea and fell in love with the girl, and the prince asked him why he was sad. And in this, the character is interchanged. And the prince was Bhishma Pitama, I think. King's name I forgot. Shantanu was it? King I forgot. Okay, there's another interesting question. First of all, what is heir to the throne? Heir to the throne is the person who will inherit the throne when the king dies. Okay, the next ruler. Okay, so the question in the chat was, why will the prince feel sad when the heir to the throne becomes the son of the fisherman's daughter? Okay, so I'll explain when we go. So obviously, this is also a chronological order of story. First, what happened? Boy meets girl, which is fixed. Then what happened? Boy falls in love with girl. Yeah. Obviously, Q can't follow, no? Because before you want to marry, guy falls in love with the girl, then he goes to fisherman to say that he wants to marry his daughter. Okay, so RQ, not QR or not QS. Okay, then once you meet the fisherman agreed for the marriage on one condition, that the son of his daughter should be heir to the throne. So I'll tell you why the prince became sad. If this is the king, the current heir to the throne is the prince, which means the prince will sit on the throne after the king dies. Okay, prince fell in love with the daughter of the fisherman. Fisherman is saying daughter's son, which is their son, will become the heir to the throne. Okay, so this guy becomes grandson of the king. So this is a problem for the prince because prince will never get to become king. That's why he becomes sad, because then the son will become king, right? After this guy dies, the son will become king. So that's why he became sad, for those who didn't understand. Okay, so he will inherit. So fisherman agreed on one condition, that son of his daughter should become heir to the throne. And then the prince got disappointed and returned home because he didn't want to give up his right to the throne. Okay, so we have RQSP. This was the answer. Javed, you're correct. The son is not born yet. Na? Only if the prince and daughter have a son, then he will become the heir to the throne whenever he is born. So this trick, I think the prince did not think of. Let's get married and not have kids. So then there'll be no son to become heir to the throne. So. Acha, good. An input from 189. The fisherman's daughter's name was Satyavati. Okay. Satyavati was the daughter's name, and the prince eventually was interchanged. So the characters are opposite. In Mahabharata, the king actually went to meet the daughter, uh, and the king would have had a son, and the prince was son from other marriage. And he turned out to be Bhishma because he gave up his right to the throne and he allowed the king and the daughter to get married and have a son who would take the throne. Okay, so that is why Bhishma never became king. Good. So I'm impressed by the level of general knowledge in the class. You guys, many of us have read Mahabharata. I'm happy. And I think there are a lot of lessons from Mahabharata to implement in our daily life as well. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm making it little bit more difficult. I'm increasing the length of your sentences gradually. Okay. So shall we solve? The origin of Zen Buddhism. This is a story from, I don't know, 14th century. So again, it's in chronological order. What happened, then what happened, then what happened, then what happened. So one statement which introduces what the passage is talking about, which tells you what the rest of the statements are about, is D. D should open. The origin is described to the flower sermon. The earliest source comes from the 14th century. So what is a sermon? A sermon is a religious talk, something that a priest gives in the church, something that a Hindu sadhu might give to his followers, and something that Gautam Buddha gave to his followers back then. Yeah, so the flower sermon. It is said that he gathered his disciples for a walk, for a talk one day. So first gather disciples. So D follows into B. Yeah, and when they gathered together, so this is linked. Gather and gather. The Buddha was completely silent. Some speculated that he was tired or ill. Yeah. Now he wants to tell them a story, but he wants them to understand it. This was one of Buddha's methods. Like he didn't actually give a talk. Whoever understood it, understood it. So you don't need to know this, to get the Parajumble. When they gathered, he might have been tired or ill. He silently held up and twirled a flower and twinkled his eyes. Several of his disciples tried to interpret, but none of them was correct. So after they are gathered, he held up a flower. So you have D to start, B to continue, A, E. in which you're saying none of the others managed to get it. Suddenly, we can close with C. One of his disciples, Mahakasyapa, silently gazed at the flower and broke into a broad smile, which means he got it. Okay. So Ajay is saying he's a follower of Buddha and maybe Buddhism. So Ajay, can you tell us a little bit more about where this originates from? If you've actually read the book, maybe. I'm not sure. I haven't got into it in that much of detail. Yeah. So once you've identified the opening statement, I think this made it easier because there was only one with the opening statement. No need for any confusion. Yeah. All of the other statements were somewhere in the middle of a story. Only other one which could have identified opening statement was B, because you gather the disciples for a talk, right? But if you see this answer, B continues into C. One of his disciples gazed at the flower, but flower has not been introduced yet. Where did this flower come from? So this doesn't go, and you eliminate. So therefore, second. Yeah, DA was strongly related. Good. That's someone has put that. So this is a good question from A1A3. Is knowledge of English good enough to solve or need mythology? You are not expected to have any of this knowledge from outside about Buddha or about Mahabharata. No, no. You only need to judge the answer based on the statements given to you. Okay. From these 5, you need to know the answer. You are not expected to study all of this teaching from outside. No. So I'm just trying to make it interesting by having some conversation related to where the passage may have come from. Just to make the class more interesting. But you are not supposed to read all this. Don't worry. Please don't get into that. So Surya, Surya bracket Tony Stark. I don't know where that is coming from, but so a Tripitak book, this story is extracted from. Good. That's some really good level of general knowledge. And I like that some of you all have read this book. Ajay has also replied that this was a great teaching by the Buddha. Everything is in silence. Yeah. I think there's also a book based on the lotus or the flower sermon or the lotus something based on Buddhism. I think more than a few years back, sometime in 2017, we had traveled to Ladakh. So Ladakh, there are many monasteries and Buddhists. No? So the person who we were staying with, he had this book in his living room, and I happened to read some part of it. The Lotus Sermon or the Lotus something related to Buddhism. But it was interesting. Okay, so how was this? Parajumbles, Lotus Sutra. Thank you. 1B0. Yeah, Lotus Sutra. I think it had some 7 teachings or something like that. Okay, perfect. So this was Parajumbles. A bit of practice, a bit of learning, a bit of outside knowledge also on some of the passages where they come from. See, examiners also pick up like this only. Examiners pick up from different sources wherever they are likely to find good paragraphs which they can jumble up. Your RCs also are picked up from various either history or some articles about various topics. Yeah. So I hope this class was interesting. I know that you guys have a packed schedule, so I wouldn't want to extend your class or do a few more questions. Let's call this class to an end. Okay. Some of you all are saying in the chat that on the difficult ones, can you explain in Telugu? Unfortunately, I don't know Telugu. So it's a bit difficult for me to explain in Telugu. Okay. I'll try to learn. Maybe next year. I can include Telugu in my sessions. Yeah. But why don't you guys teach me Telugu and I will teach you English? How about that? Exchange offer. I'm a Maharashtrian. I'm from Mumbai. Okay. So next time, come with one Telugu word of the day that I should learn. For now, I know only English, Hindi, and Marathi. And in the lockdown, we tried to learn a little bit of Spanish. So we took a course on Udemy, one of the, just we had some free time. In the mornings, we used to do half an hour of Spanish. So that was fun. We did like 3-4 months, and we got to know that Spanish and a lot of other European languages are derived from Latin. So there are many common words between Telugu and between other European languages because they have come from Latin, not Telugu, sorry, Spanish. The same way, Telugu is derived from Sanskrit. If any of you all have studied Sanskrit in school, then you would know that many common words are there between Sanskrit and between Telugu. So we'll get into it in the next class. Keep all this on hold. Some of you all are asking Marathi words also in exchange. Okay. So we'll continue. Don't worry. Chalo. So thanks for attending. This was fun. And let's keep having fun in future classes as well. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.